Hi, my name is Raj Gurn, and I'm the publisher of ANOKHI magazine. I'm blessed to meet and have intimate and provocative conversations with the hottest and most influential celebrities from around the world. We talk about all aspects of what drives them to their personal greatness. You never know whose door I'll be walking through next. Donna, I have to tell you, it's an absolute pleasure to be sitting here with you today. I've read tons of phenomenal things about your story. It's completely inspirational. I know there's a ton of people out there that would love to know how you got from being this young Aussie lass to hitting the big time in the Big Apple.
Indian Aussie lass.
Indian Aussie, yeah, absolutely. Where did your love for music come from?
Well, you know, my family's from Kerala, and Kerala people have a great love, a great affinity for music, for dance, for celebration, for drinking and partying. And I think whether that was encoded in some way or was just something that I love having a great time. I like people to dance, to eat together, to play cards together, and to celebrate life. And I was brought up very much in that sort of a home where we played together, we prayed together, and that sort of embodied who I was very much as a child. I danced my whole life. I did gymnastics, jazz, ballet, athletics, anything I could. And that sort of exuberance in spirit and that exuberance in life fills you, I think, with imagination and fills you with creativity.
What was it about music that encapsulated your passion?
I think there's a natural truth in music. There's a beauty in music. And there is a real healing in music. You know, healing to me sort of represents that return to wellness, that return to wholeness. And music embodies that, whether it's dance music, whether it's house, whether it's traditional world music, whether it's jazz, funk, you know, everything about music to me represents healing and beauty. And it has a transcendental nature. And I think that I always listen for the tone and the rhythm and the words, but I also listen with my heart. And when you do that, I think you hear not just in human nature the undertones, but also in the rhythm of nature. You hear the music in the mother. And so, you know, you hear it whether it's here in Toronto or, you know, in a back street of Delhi somewhere, or South Africa, wherever I travel, I hear that and I look for that. And I think on some level I invite it. And so it makes itself available. What you invite is what you get.
And what you've invited is this tremendous aura. I mean, this room is filled with your magnificent aura. And it's clear that that is part and parcel of the way that you translate what you believe in into your performance. Do you think that maybe that has a little bit to do with why you are your own Donna D'Cruz brand?
I'm sure, you know, truth is truth. And whether you're a writer, whether you're a chef, whether you're a dancer, or whether you're in politics, whatever it is, I think people feel the vibration of truth. And I just have always done what I love. And I've been convinced that maybe I have an idea, and if I share it with truth and a level of inspiration, and certainly with creativity, that other people will be invited into that. And it's a great dream of mine that, you know, certainly part and parcel of the music thing for me very much is the shift in consciousness. You know, and music represents that, and I'm very grateful to have it in my life. And I think that's, you know, probably the most immediate way that people will come along the path. I hope so. And I've been teaching my own sort of version of meditation in a place called Phoenix House to people who are really quite severe addicts in their own way. You know, it's for drug and alcohol addictions, and I teach there, and I use music very much in the teaching. Of course, it's the spoken word, it's a guided meditation, but it's music that soothes any savage beast, as they say, Shakespeare says. And so that peace, that harmony, that exists in all of us. And I think when we're out of sync with our own truth, then we're out of sync with our own rhythm. We're out of sync with our own harmony. And so when you get to play music, whether you're an actor or performer, or you get to play the music of your soul, you know, I think one of the greatest tragedies in anyone's life is to die without having had your song sung for you, whatever that is. If you're meant to be a great mom or a great dad or a great gardener or a great shoe designer, just find out what your dharma is, what your calling is, and answer it. And for me, so far, it's been many things. And right now, it's music it's healing, you know, it's just an expression in my own way of the divine feminine.
How do people out there resonate to you from a performance perspective that maybe is very different and brings them back to wanting to be a part of your energy around your performing?
You know, I think that's an interesting question. I see it all the time, whether I'm playing in Saint-Tropez or whether I'm playing, you know, in New York City or in Istanbul. There is a commonality. And around music, certainly, I see it as this sort of beautiful tribalism. When we hear a rhythm, it's a sort of a worshipping in a way. And in a way, you know, not, you know, which is not to say that, you know, the DJ is the holy one, but there is a sort of priestess-like energy where, you know, people come, they come to listen, they have their hands in the air, and there is a sort of, you know, a sort of elevated truth and beauty to it. So people come to dance, they come to celebrate, and maybe they come to forget, but I think they come to remember. And I think they come to remember who they really are. We all do. Mm-hmm. And so when you get out of the dance floor, whether you've had a champagne or, you know, in some places I play, you know, people are high on drugs, and I don't really mind what people do as long as they come. Mm-hmm. And when they come, regardless of whether you're a celeb or not, you know, when you come to the dance floor that I play at, everyone's the same. Mm-hmm. And everyone is sort of invited just to unleash themselves, to unwind themselves, to sort of do that sort of Kundalini-esque thing where they unwind and they go back to truth. And, you know, when you're dancing and you just close your eyes and you hear that rhythm, whatever is your love of music, you're just taken on, you know, on a journey. And I very much see myself as sort of this magic conductor in a way of a symphony. And people are part of that, and everybody's playing their own instrument, and it might be their body. It's certainly their spirit. And so the, you know, the job, if it were, of the conductor is just to make the space available and to make that sort of unfold in a way and let people say, come along and just take the trip and see, you know, let's see where we go together, because we certainly go together. I don't go on my own, and you don't go really as an individual. I think we go together, and hopefully that's to a great place, and it's a joyous, you know, elevated experience.
And how does that make you feel?
It's ecstatic. To me, that's the real ecstasy. You know, when you get to do that, I always say that it's a privilege to play music, and it's a real honor to do it, to be standing there and to sort of accept, like, you know, because on some level you are in receipt of people's energy, and you decide to play what you think would serve them well. At least that's what I do. And maybe that's what makes what I do very differently, because I think you have to keep your ego to the side, and you have to really serve, you know, in a much bigger way, and in a very sort of in an unexpected way. You come from underneath, you know, like there's very much this sort of feeling of the welling up out of the ground almost, and hearing what's invisible. And so that's kind of that's at least that's my journey, and it's an honor and a privilege to do it, and to just, you know, take people on that ride. It's real ecstasy, and it's a beauty that's untold.
You've performed for P. Diddy to you know, Valentino and everything in between. As a woman, you're in this glamorous world of DJing and entertainment, and you're South Asian. You're a very unique and very rare personality out there in that world. What made you think that, you know what, doesn't matter that I'm a woman, doesn't matter that I'm South Asian, I can do this because it's what I want to do. It's where my passion is. It's my calling. Mm.
I just answered, honestly. You know, it was like receiving a great gift that had been knocking. And I just, you know, I got to a place in my life where I was going to lots of different events. We all do. We go to the openings of lots of lovely things. And I felt like, gosh, I'm so lucky. I feel so blessed. And I realized that at nearly all of these events around the world, that people were thinking more about the alcohol they were going to serve or the food they were going to serve than they were about the music. And I thought, God, if you could just play, you know, here we are, you know, on this boat somewhere, on this bridge somewhere, an opening of, you know, a great art exposition or whatever it was, and the music just really was poor. And rather than complain, I had reached a place in my life, I think, you know, I've been very much sort of brought up, you know, don't complain about it. What do you want to do about it? And so I said, well, what do I want to do about it? I know what I'd like to hear. And so very humbly, I started playing in a little gin joint, practically, as I like to call it. But it was a little place that had a little fireplace, of a formidable sound system, a phase-on sound system. And I started playing there. My first job was given to me by Jelly Bean Benitez. So I feel like, yeah, it wasn't bad. You know, I earned a few $100 and And off I went. And I started just mixing up, Bessie Smith with Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, and some jazz and funk, and people were, out of the woodwork, started coming and say, "Who's this person? What do you do? What's this chick doing?" Right. And I said, "I don't know what I'm doing, but I do know that it's guided." And so I offer it a lot. Like, I started doing it. I didn't really think about it. I just did what came naturally. And now it's coming, as I say, once you open up to your own truth, everything comes. And I think, in the words of the Vedanta, once you start living your truth, the truth will lay down at your feet. She has no choice but to do that, and it's definitely a feminine thing in the sense of it being a divinely feminine energy force, source and force of nature, and it's about intuition. And so once you invite that, she's ready to take you. I think it's a tsunami once you make it available to yourself.
Absolutely. So many women in our culture are still struggling with whether they have the right, quote unquote, to be able to live life according to their rules, as opposed to the stringent historical, cultural traditions that are placed on us. What would you say to a woman like that, who's bursting with all this energy, so much passion, but there's this one element called fear standing in her way? What would you say to that woman from your experience to help her reach her nirvana?
Yeah, I think part of it is a waking up. And I see that happening right now around the world. I think that women have to stop sort of thinking that they are less than or they need to be more than. All we need to do is just be ourselves. And some of us are going to be, forces of nature, and we're going to have a certain sense of power and wisdom. But in order to be strong, like the ocean, you have to know when to yield. For every wave that comes crashing to the shore, there's also one that, there's a equal, if not a, even stronger force that goes out into the great ocean. So I think you have to know when to be forceful and when to yield, as a woman, and you have to know what, how to pick your battles. And one of the things is, everyone, I face it all the time, especially in this sort of nuclear age of technology. Everyone wants to be famous, or wants to be on a TV show, wants to be on a reality show, or not everyone, but there's such a desire for exposure and such a desire to be known. And in truth, I think you can't expect for anybody to know you until you get to know yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's going to come from sitting still. And I would say to anybody, whether it's a man or woman, child or aged person, sit. And when you sit quietly in a state of, whether it's prayer for you or whether it's meditation, and you just learn some simple things like how to breathe properly. Most of us breathe from the top part of our chest, which is so fear-based and scared. When you start breathing from your lower diaphragm, that will change everything. That starts changing things. Even the Buddha said, when you steady your breath, you steady your mind. And when you steady your mind, you're then able, I think, to start thinking with clarity, and invite dignity into your life, and invite, it's not about, thinking, oh, I have to rule the world. You don't have to rule anything. You just have to be. And the real question is just to spend time with yourself, to ask yourself, who am I supposed to be? Maybe I'm meant to be a great school teacher, and maybe I'm meant to be a great analyst, or a great doctor, whatever it might be. Each of us, if we were to listen to, to those messages that are profoundly available in our life, we'd hear, and we'd hear with our soul. But you can't do that if you've got clutter and noise in your life. A lot of women's lives, they are willing to have toxicity in their lives, whether it's mainly in relationships, and that comes in as friendships. And there's lots of exercises that I've been teaching, I hope, with some success, even to my girlfriends. I had dinner with a couple of girlfriends, and we were chatting away, and I found myself witnessing how very easily the conversation drifted towards talking about people that weren't there. Oh, did you know so-and-so? At first it was, did you know, oh, so-and-so changed jobs, whatever it might be. And then quite quickly it became talking about that person's, very personal life and everything. And I stopped and I said, if we're going to have this conversation, I don't really think it's fair to do that with them not being here. And even with them here, I think let's just think for a second, would we have that conversation without that person, with that person there?
Right.
Would we say the same things? And at first they were like, oh, why do you always have to be that person? I said, because I want to be that person. Right. I think that's a shift in consciousness.
Right. So how does a woman like you, with all that you've accomplished, who you are internally as a woman, this magnificent warrior princess that you are, that exudes this phenomenal, electrifying personality, actually find a man to share your life with that doesn't bore you shitless.
I meditated on him.
You brought him into your life, right?
No,
now tell me, seriously.
I asked for that. I wanted to have somebody that is a mirror. You know, we all need that in our lives. And sometimes that mirror sucks. And sometimes you do not want to look into that mirror and you go, oh my God, how can that be? But I asked for it. I think in love and in life and in business and all that we do, you have to be able to articulate what you want, because the life I live is a very different sort of a life. And certainly someone that wasn't sure of themselves probably wouldn't have a place in it, you know.
Right.
But, you know, luckily I have that in my love relationship, and I have that in my friendships, and certainly with my family. You know, we've just always been very frank with each other. And I think I invite that and ask that, and certainly I hope that I get it in my friendships, where I just ask for, you know, for people not to be jealous and for us to bless each other and honor one another. Just be there in a way that's unexpected. Why not give when you can? Why, you know, because it's a funny thing, the universe gives you back, and that's not the reason to do it, but she just knows that because there's a force in nature when you give, and when you know, it's like when we've been taking from the mother, she knows how to take back. Right. And it's the same thing, you know, so when you can give it freely, why not? You know,
and it's funny because fame is like that. I have so many people that I interview, and, you know, it's the entire conversation just is surrounded by the emphasis of wanting people to know who they are, the fame phenomena. And the interesting thing is that I always look at that phenomena and I say to myself, fame to me is a byproduct of your journey. Your journey should be the core of what you value, right? Fame, like money, you know, these things are byproducts that you don't need to work at because you've got the core. That's right. But when you work on the byproducts and there's no core, those byproducts don't last long.
No. Well, it's all a grand illusion. You know, Maya, the Sanskrit word Maya, it's all a grand illusion. None of it's real. Yes. But you can be sure that whatever you think of is real on the outside, and the inside is what you're going to get. So we can also make hell. But I say, why make it hellish? Why not have truth and beauty and poetry and magic wherever possible? You know, that's the real treasure in the heart.
What's left for you to do that you haven't yet done?
I have no idea. Everything. Are you kidding? I want to climb trees and go to the bottom of the oceans, of the body and the soul. You know, for all of that. You know, I went to the Kumbh Mela last year, and when you go there and you're one amongst 35 million people or whatever, however many were there, I realized how significant I was in my insignificance, and it puts things into perspective in a very unique way. And so, you know, the sort of resonance of that's really stayed with me, and how ironic it is that we run and we grab and we want, and that beauty is always available when we just close our eyes.
And you are a tremendously beautiful person inside and out. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you, my darling. You are really a great woman, great role model, not just for women, but just for people in general, because you're enlightened, and it excites me to talk to rare beings like you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Adore you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
You're welcome.